TK, we're live.
Welcome. Happy New
Good
Year.
morning. Happy
It's the
New Year.
first time I've seen you all year.
First time I have talked to you this year. Look at this. We need
Yeah,
to get
man.
some people in
What's
here. How do we get people in here?
I
Need to,
don't know. What's going on though?
hello, TK.
I'm here.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
yeah. Post.
I better turn my focus on here so I don't get phone calls. I got a phone. We're in a live. We're in a live. We got people watching. What
Maybe somebody will join us.
does that even mean?
What do you mean? What does it mean? I guess it
I'm
doesn't
saying,
really
what does that
matter,
even
does
mean?
it?
No. How are you?
It doesn't matter. Oh, here we go. We got some people in here. Hello, everybody. I don't know. How do I
Yeah.
see the chat? How do I see the chat? Oh,
I
oh,
think that
almost removed you.
well, I'll go
Anyway, no.
online. I'll go on YouTube and
I
make
don't know.
sure
I
I'm
I was getting chastised online last night, so hopefully the
well, that never
buddy,
happens to you.
the new buddy I made, hopefully he's going to join us, chastise me live here.
That
But
never
I can't.
happens to you. All right, I got the chat. I
Welcome
got
to
the chat
live
open on my
chat.
computer. Okay,
Okay. Right. Can you
I
put
got the
something
chat.
in it? Is anybody able to test out this chat? How
I
do I
just did
see the
right now.
chat? Hey guys. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can see the
Yeah.
chat. Hey everybody, we got a few people in here starting to grow, so that's kind of cool. I don't know, can you
Yeah.
like it? Maybe share it or do something, make a comment so we can get some more people in here and maybe hi Ann.
There you go.
Hello.
Ann says hi. Hey, Ann. Happy New Year.
Hi. Happy New Year. So
Den
Den,
Den
hey. All right,
22.
keep it up, guys. Let's get this thing growing and rocking. Shirt and Forbes. Hit the like button, folks, for more great content
Yeah.
and moments. It doesn't
Sure,
cost.
Forbes.
Look
That
at
a
this.
boy.
We got pros already here in the chat. TK, I don't know
Yeah.
what
Yes, that's me.
is that you? I listen.
No, I'm saying that's my job to be the pro. But Sheridan's
You're
like
you're.
helping me out here. Saying, TK, you're dropping the ball. TK, you're dropping the
That's right.
ball. What's going on?
What's going on,
Happy New
TK?
Year.
I'm just trying to. Happy New Year, and thank you for being here, everybody. Thank you for being with us for all of this time, and
And Sheridan.
thank you for putting up with me. TK, what you get punched in the head?
No, it's just jujitsu stuff. Just kind of like
Get
rubbing
your
up on
head
people, right?
rubbed against the carpet on the mat?
You just
The
rub.
mat?
You just use your head a lot. It's probably using my head to do stuff to people, and it
Yeah. Well,
worked.
that sounds fun. Well,
Yeah.
so
How's your
uh,
vacation?
my vacation has been quite exceptional. It's very nice here. I'm very
Yeah.
happy that I'm not there. I'm seeing some crazy videos from back home, like from New Year's Eve and from all these like crazy protests going on back home. I don't want to come back. I mean, people are calling me a traitor online. We had a video where I said, I'd rather go to the States, or I think maybe I agreed with the idea of us becoming the 51st state, and people are calling me a traitor and telling me to get the fuck out of the country. I love it. Meanwhile, this hat here in Mexico is getting some major attention.
Yeah. I
I
love it.
must have sold 10 hats here. Although everybody that sees the hat,
Yeah.
most of them are Americans that say anything, but they're like, you guys are going to become the 51st state. Like, this is a
Yeah. Yeah. I
thing.
talked to a lot of Americans about that too down in Mexico.
It's crazy. Like, it's really
Yeah.
crazy. Like, I remember you would go away and nobody really knew anything about Canada. They knew we were a bunch of nice people. It was like, you guys are a bunch of nice people up there. And do you
They
know
like that stuff.
Bob, right? Do you know Bob
Yeah.
by any chance, right?
Drake. I usually get, do you know Drake?
Do
And
you know Drake?
I'll 9 out of 10 times I say yes.
He lives down the street. Hey, J
I live in
Mac,
his
how's it
neighborhood.
going?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we're neighbors, right? Actually, now I do
Yeah.
own a property right around the corner from him. That's kind of cool. I'm
You
a
guys are
neighbor
neighbors.
of Drake. TK, what the
Yeah.
hell?
Yeah.
So I don't know what the hell's going on there. And I can't really think about anything other than all these political things. But TK, this is the Canadian real estate show, and we seem to go off the rails. Let's try and at least talk about Canadian real estate for a little bit. I mean, I don't know what's on your mind or what you've got going on, because I'm kind of
Well,
disconnected right now.
yeah, well, I mean, I wrote down a few things and I forgot my notes, but I did send you, one of the biggest, most important things, right? Which is just changes to immigration. I mean, it just seems like the tone, like even me and you, we're talking when on this show, and when immigration numbers started to climb 2020, 2021, we're like pro immigration, let's bring in the immigrants, they're going to save us, we need them, we want skilled, because we're all, very like friendly people here and stuff like that. But I think the
For sure.
reality set in here that these housing targets that we've set, and that these unemployment rate that are struggling with, and that the social services and stuff like that are sparse and lacking, are having too much pressure on them because of the amount of people that we have here in the country right now. So the government's really starting to turn the taps down. And that they really are going to ensure that they make, I mean, obviously voters happy, because voters are the ones who are going to decide whether or not they're going to get a chance to be reelected or not. But also, hopefully, their intentions are for the greater good of Canadians who are already here, and that we can sort of try to get stuff back on track here, because we're losing control. We're
We
losing
have
we're
lost
losing control.
control. We have absolutely
Yeah,
lost control. TK, there's 60 people in here right now. A bunch of them have not hit a button or made a comment. Guys,
well, a
help
lot of
us
them
out
have
a little
commented
bit.
here. Have you seen the
There's
comments?
a
Yeah,
few
you've seen the
comments.
comments.
Yeah, I see a
Yeah,
couple of comments. But okay, so
yeah,
TK, so you said they turned the tabs down. So let's just picture this cup here, okay? Okay, this is Canada, and this is what it can hold and handle, right? And so
sure.
over the last few years, we've filled it up so fucking much that it's overflowing and we can't handle anything, right? It's just spilling over and spilling over, and we're trying to take sips and we can't catch up, right? We're trying to put it maybe in another cup, but that thing's overflowing. It's
We get it.
overflowing.
We get it. We
But
get it.
but
We
when
get
you
it.
just if you don't turn the tap off, TK, if you just turn it down, what happens? Well, and I guess assuming they don't
Well,
make
there's
any
there's
more
other
stupid policy.
population's always in flux, Daryl. So you have people who are emigrating the country, you have people who are dying, you have other reasons. So actually, population growth, based on the numbers that I saw, is actually going to be at par, or even going to be a shrinking population over the next few years. Okay, so they are trying to actually
Shrinking.
decrease. Yeah, like I mean, you got to think. There's a lot of people who are dying. There's a lot of people who are moving out. A lot of people who are having changes in their life. So overall, there's going to be a lot of changes going on. So I'll give you an example here. Case in point, I decided to go downtown to celebrate New Year's this year. I haven't been down there for a long time. I know what it's
Mm.
like. I know what goes down there, but I said, you know what, I'm going to go and do it. So I did the Nathan Phillips Square skate, and I did the waterfront fireworks, and I
You
lined
did?
up with 200,000 people. I got videos of me in crowds, of people. And now, and I don't want to sound like a bigot or anything like that, but there was a lot less Canadian looking people at these events,
Yeah.
than I would say when I was there, last 20 years ago or something like that. You know what I mean? And so it's like nothing wrong with that. And of course, this is like the Canadian experience. The people that I went and with, you know what I mean, we're all like, new Canadians as well too. That's why I was even going. And so it was like this is, just a very, very good anecdotal sign that our population has changed a lot over the years. The fact that people are internationally recognizing us now as being a much more diverse country than ever before. We used to be very proud of that, but then there is a needle. There is eventually when people say, "Hold on a second, if we've got more of new Canadians than we actually do of people who have been here for generations, maybe we should start looking at taking care of the people who are already here first." And that's what they're doing. So,
Yeah.
like, one of the programs that they're starting now is, so in 2025, you won't be able to sponsor grandparents and parents. And submit a new application. So only people from 2024 who made those applications will be allowed to sponsor parents and grandparents. Okay, there's going to be a limit on those applications as well too, because it's kind of like a lottery system. Now, it sounds good. right? Because anytime we talk about those numbers, when we talk about population growth, that is PR, right? That is permanent residents that they are targeting. But when you start looking at how many people will actually still be here, there's still going to be a ton of people coming in through temporary visas and stuff like that too. You can still invite your parents to come here, your grandparents to come here, as many times as they want over a 5-year period, right? And so it's just that permanent residency that I think gets impacted. You got changes to international student policies too, right? Like after they graduate, how do they obtain work permits? You got changes to the federal skilled worker programs and stuff like that too. So there's going to be a lot more federal skilled workers coming in as a percentage of the amount of overall immigration. Bottom line is the target's going to be coming down by about 20%, right?
The easy part is cutting down the amount of people that come in, right? Or starting now to start like checking on people and making sure that they're screened a little bit better. Like these are easy things to do, right? The hard thing to do, and what really needs to be done, that's getting more and more obvious, is we need to have somebody with the balls to start kicking people out, right? Like this is crazy what people are getting away with here. But okay, we're off the rails already, and
Oh,
we're
they're
not
changing.
talking
No,
about
no, no.
real estate.
They're changing. They're changing. No, they're changing things. So, I mean, how does it relate to real estate? Already in the next 3 years, the target for housing, the shortage is going to be reduced by 670,000 homes. Think about that. Just this one change, because when they were coming up with those targets, those 3 million homes by certain 2033 and these type of things, those are all based on current immigration trends. So by reducing the immigration by 20%, we've reduced the amount of homes that are going to be needed by 670,000. So it's pretty substantial.
Are you crazy? Do you really believe that? Do you really believe that that actually is gonna, like, do you
Well,
think they base the
the same
numbers on that?
metrics, the same numbers they used to come up with how many homes we're short on, which I don't believe, is BS, and we would never have achieved those targets. The same
Right.
numbers, the same math is being used. That number comes down by 670,000. So I don't care what the number is. Bottom line
Oh,
is
okay.
there's going to be less houses that are needed
Less
in
fake
order
math.
for
Less.
us to be able to get back on track. Yes, less fake math.
Okay, so we're gonna take fake math, add a little bit of fake math, subtract some fake math, and then create a fake math formula for the amount of housing that we think we're gonna need. This is all
Yeah.
asinine. We need to discuss Canadian real estate prices in US dollars. Rip the Canadian dollar. Okay, so are the Canadian dollar is going to shit? Why do we have to
So is
talk
the
about?
euro. So is the yen. So it's a U.S. dollar right now that's getting strong.
But like, if you are, even if you're buying in U.S. dollars, like, why? If you're coming from the United States to Canada, you must be looking around, going, "Holy shit! Like, this is crazyville. How can anybody afford anything up here? Even with an extra 30% purchasing power, it's still
I
ridiculously
saw I saw a
expensive for
video I
nothing."
saw a video of a guy post who's from India, and he's making a video for Indians in Canada, and he said, "Guys, I just came back from India. Prices are up there too. It's the same prices as Edmonton. You can't go and get the place
Right.
that you think you can get." And so they're basically saying stay in Canada because at least wages are higher here. You may not like the cost of living, but it's everywhere. So I know we're complaining. And affordability in the US is at an all-time
All time high.
low. Affordability is
Unfor
at an all-time
Yeah.
low,
Yeah.
right? And so it's like you got these issues that are out there that are just
Everywhere.
widespread, and
Yeah.
that they aren't something that's localized in Canada. So we can talk about the Canadian dollar, sure, but it just the US dollar is strong because basically it's a globally backed currency. And I mean, if everybody's trading in US dollars, buying in US dollars, holding in US dollars, then that is going to be the currency to have. So I mean, do I think that Canada housing in our lifetime will ever be used using US dollars? No, no, it won't. Not in our lifetime. Listen, I love talking about the 51st state. I love it. I think on vacation I'm going around telling everybody, "Hey, come and visit us in the 51st state." Like I'm joking around about it like it's a great idea and it's a great thought. But I'm telling you right now, that ain't happening anytime soon. It's just Trump knowing how to push our buttons. He's an excellent negotiator. He's hilarious. I love the guy in the sense of his personality and how he deals with stuff. I don't like the way he treats women. I don't like the way he does business, you know, with certain people. I don't like the way that he looks at Canada. There's lots of things I don't like, but at the end of the day, you know, there's lots of parts of him that I think it makes him a very entertaining character. You know?
Well, okay, so but as our currency is devaluing against the rest of the world, basically,
Yeah.
won't our prices here go up, like in nominal terms? Like what? Like, I don't know. I'm so like I keep saying this
Well,
every week.
what
I'm so
what we always talk about.
confused,
Yeah. Go ahead.
DK.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm so confused with where we are actually at in this marketplace, okay? Because you see those normal charts of where what a crash looks like, a bubble, a crash, and like where we're at, and there you are here, and like it's this phase versus the fear phase and the crash. Where the hell are we at right now? Because you know, you when I talk to you, well, every other week when I talk to you, it sounds like things are fucking smoking out there and the market's back. And then I look at some stats and it's like, it doesn't look so bad, or it got better from the last couple of months, or rents are good in this area, rents are bad. Like, I don't, the whole thing is so mixed up. Like, where are we actually at in this thing? Do we have another leg down coming? Because if you listen to all the guys like D Trent and all these other negative
Yeah.
ninnies, I mean, they haven't been wrong as of late. I mean, if you go over the 30-year period that they've been calling for doom and gloom, um, they were wrong most of the time. But doesn't it feel right now like there could be another decent leg down?
Yeah, I mean, look, let's talk about bankruptcies and delinquencies. I mean, I got multiple properties right now that are for sale that are facing writ of possessions and statements of claim, you know, because the person hasn't been able to make their payments. Different lenders are doing different things depending on the situation, depending on equity in the home and stuff like that, too. I just listed a power sale yesterday where, you know, that property, I mean, they had no equity in the property. And so the person just basically handed over the keys, and I was talking to the bank yesterday. Now, the bank, what they do is, I mean, they stay in the office. They rely on the appraiser. They rely on the real estate agent. They rely on everyone. So I walk into this place for the first time yesterday after we've already got it all listed and stuff because I relied on information online. It was the holidays, and I walk in and the place looks like a power sale. It is covered in dust, dirt, junk, garbage. I'm like, what are we doing? I can't believe that this has been for sale before and that this is something that people thought was a marketable product. And the bank was surprised when I told them. And they said, well, why didn't the agent tell me? And I said, I don't know. Because the bank hires the cheapest agents they can find. They find a guy I've never heard of
Right.
before who's offering them the lowest commission, who does absolutely nothing. And then afterwards they complain and they say, hey, why didn't it sell? How come that guy didn't do anything for them? But that's beside the point. But the bottom line is he said to me, he goes, how did the appraiser appraise for this number? And I said, well, you know, explain to him what appraisers do and the reliability that they have on their insurance for making mistakes. And he said,
Yeah.
we've used that appraiser many times before and we never had any issues. And I said, well, I can promise you, if you guys had walked into this building when you were giving this mortgage, you would not have given the mortgage. It is an absolutely horrible building that looks like all sorts of drugs are being done there. And I would not be lending money on that property whatsoever. Right. So by the by the looks of
Yeah.
things, they're gonna lose a lot of money, right? And so the
Yeah.
banks right now are they don't want to be in that position. They just want to be able to get their money and go. And so our delinquencies up, sure, but definitely the amount of people who are delinquent right now, who are behind on their payments in arrears, is astronomically higher than it's ever been in my career. Right. And so whether or not they're all going power sale yet or not, I don't know. If they got equity, the bank's going to try to work with them to try to get them on the market.
So I saw something online, something about a $5.5 million house in Mississauga where I guess they went into foreclosure or something like that. And you know, my first thought it was, how fraudulent was that mortgage, right? And then so, you're talking about the bank, they don't even go out and look at it. They rely on, the appraiser basically, and maybe a inspection or something like that. But I mean, how many of the loans out there would not have been given out if the people, really did not only the appraiser. I mean, uh, just the bank or the whoever's given out the loan, the lender, like if they really just went
Yeah.
to the property, like you're saying, right? If they just went
Yeah.
to the goddamn property to see what the real story is. Why
Or,
are
or
there
or they
the
met the guy. They met the
23
borrower.
mattresses? Why are
Hmm.
there 23 mattresses on the floor in the basement? Why are there 18 bunk beds on the second floor? Or,
Yeah.
why is there this crack pipes all over the place? Like,
Yeah.
how I
Why does the
I
back of your car say Uber when you told me that you worked at such and such? So like the Uber guy's income now is going to be reported. That's new news that came out this
oh,
week.
that's
So I'm like,
big news.
what? Why wasn't it reported before? How come everybody else is getting a T4, T4A? What the heck were the Uber guys getting? You know? So
Well, listen, they were self-employed. It was the same thing, right? They were considered
T4A, why not? So,
self-employed. Well, you don't
yeah.
need a T4A if you're
So
self-employed. You like it's
so
invoices.
realtors are. Well, I mean, if it's coming through a commission based type of industry like that, like real estate, we get T4As. But anyways,
Hmm,
you could be right. Bottom line is
likely
that
not.
seems weird. So now what the CRA has been doing, and Ron Butler's talking about this right now a lot, and obviously we talked about that when we had him on the show because he was one of the people who was advising whatever committee was coming up with that was now the CRA's internal system being linked to some sort of application where mortgage verification applications can access somebody's income. Now, there's a lot of talk right now because these are private banks. They want to lend money, and now all of a sudden they might have access to somebody's personal information, which they might be able to use in some sort of commercial format. So there's a little bit of a privacy issue there, but I think for the greater good here, in order to be able to get rid of the mortgage fraud, I think that at the end of the day, this is going to be a really good system that should have been implemented a long time ago.
Yeah, this is
Just get
listen.
rid of
This
fraud.
is
Just get rid of. You can't afford it. You can't buy it.
right. So, but I've said this a bunch of times on the show. Not that this is a great idea. And I mean, they're implementing it, but they're not implementing it for like another year, year and a half, or two, because they know
Yeah,
the same thing that I keep saying. This is a death blow, bro, because listen, how many people, we've talked about it before, didn't embellish a little thing just to get that debt service ratio to the right place, right?
yeah,
How many mortgages out there are fraudulent? And that's why I said the Ron Butler or somebody posted that $5.5 million bankruptcy or foreclosure, and I sent Ron Butler like, "Hey, how fraudulent is this mortgage?" And he was like, "Oh, good question. Let me check on it and get back to you." And then it turns out it's a realtor that owns the place. So, like, how many mortgages? And sorry, on top of it, they're saying that they're going to look back at old mortgages, man. So, if you go, how many of the mortgages out there would not be approved if you saw that 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 income, that real
yeah,
income, or if you actually did everything properly, legitly, right? Forget
yeah.
about the self-employed people, like all the people that like get fake T4s, or all the people that are, just tell them
I
like you
told you,
forget.
Daryl. I tried one time to find a guy who did this mortgage for somebody who needed it, and I couldn't find somebody who did this type of mortgage. And all the deals I've ever done, I've never known about anybody doing this. So I get it; it's out there, and I've been exposed to more of it. I'd say in the last year, where people have come to me now and they admit it. They say, "Look, this is how much I owe. This is da 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 da." I'm like, "Okay, let's try to refinance out." They're like, "Listen, I got to tell you, the reason we got this mortgage is because." We had somebody, we paid them 1%, and then they gave us the paperwork, and we got this mortgage. So more people are admitting to it now than before. So maybe just in the past, clients never told me. Maybe there's like, I got the mortgage covered. It's good. Don't worry. I got a good job. Don't worry about me. And I was like, oh, okay. you know. So I admit that there could have been just some oversight on what people were doing over my career, and I just never
Listen,
knew about it. They didn't want to admit it.
yeah. How often are you actually involved in the mortgage? And TK, I've bought a
Little,
lot
very
of
little,
property. I bought a
very
lot of
little.
properties in my day. I'm a
Yeah.
self-employed guy. I've met some interesting mortgage brokers in my day. Trust me. And just like an inspector and just like an appraiser, listen, these mortgage brokers, they don't make a penny if they just try and get you a mortgage, right? They don't put in an application for the fun of it, right? They want to get the deal, and so does the purchaser. So if the broker says, hey, let's just not include this Rogers bill, and then your
Yeah.
debt to service ratio is going to be okay, or let's just not tell them about that, or let's find a way to why don't we report some cash, or like there's or a tenant in the basement, or like
Yeah.
I don't know, you make like some fake job document. Like
I
there's
know.
so many
I know.
easy things to do. What's the average cap rate where Darryl is? That is a good question. What's the average cap rate in Mexico?
I don't know. It's got to be
This
10 caps out there. That nobody's buying in Mexico unless you got a 10 cap. I mean, that's just,
I'm staying in this place. It is so beautiful. Okay. It is so beautiful, but it is such a pain in the ass because it's built on a mountain. So the land was priced so goddamn cheap, but you need to take a cart everywhere to get anywhere because it's literally on a mountain. But I have no idea why anybody would buy anything here. Mortgage fraud is rampant in Canada.
yeah.
Rampant.
I don't trust Mexico as far as the business practices go. Right. I told you about these investors that I knew who bought an island in order to develop a big resort, and they were in like 4 million cash plus some debt. And next thing you know, the cartel had the paperwork changed at the land registry office, and then they owned the island. And it was just like you couldn't do anything about it, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
Thank
good.
you.
If you guys are gonna invest, somewhere like maybe look in Canada and the US. I would say that those are the best two countries. The US is a great
Not
place to invest.
Mexico.
U- US has got so many great markets to invest in for multifamily, where the laws are more leaning towards landlords. Cap rates are a lot higher. You got all sorts of different opportunities in Ohio and Florida and different states that really can give you the cash flow that you want, right? So if you guys are
Yeah.
looking for investments and you're looking for properties and you're looking for cash flow and you want to have like really sound investment strategies, like any good investor should have, which obviously nobody in Toronto has, zero people in Toronto do, then I would say you should be looking in the States. There's very few markets in Ontario. We're not really finding much in Ontario anymore. That makes
No.
sense.
So, but hold
Yeah.
on a second. Let's go back to the what we were talking about. So let's just say they do actually implement this thing, okay? And they do start looking back at mortgages and they start canceling a bunch of mortgages. Or let's
Yeah.
just say that that's like the worst case scenario because that is going to be so fucked up, and I can't even imagine how that would even work. But let's just say from here on out, at some point in time, they stop that. I mean, if I don't know what percentage of the mortgages are fraudulent, I would say probably like over 50%. I would say probably over 80%. But let's just say it's 25% for God's sakes. Like if that stops, right? If 25% of the mortgages all of a sudden cannot get
No, it's
done.
nowhere near that high. It's nowhere near that high. That's
What?
internet talk. I know what everybody's saying, and I know everyone. Oh my god,
No,
it's so
no,
huge.
no.
I get it.
You're
I
wrong.
get it. There's
You're
a
wrong.
huge
You're
amount of
wrong.
people. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. There's no way I am. There's no way that we're the largest organization in Toronto. We're doing the most amount of volume, and we have long, lengthy discussions about this, and that we are not uh exposed to this whatsoever. I'm not saying other brokerages out there may or may not be. I'm not saying other markets are not, but there's just no way that it's that percentage where we wouldn't have like we would be seeing every once in a while a buyer come through and then we'd be like, "Oh, turns out they're getting a fraudulent mortgage. We don't want to work with them because, this is not the right way to do it." We literally never have those type of situations come up. So
You're not supposed to know that they're doing the
I'm telling
fraudulent
you,
mortgage.
it is. I am telling you, it's not a
Hey,
double digit number. I don't
hey,
care what
hey,
anybody says in
TK.
the comments. It's a
Hey,
single digit
TK.
number, and I think it's less than 5%. No way,
Hey,
it's less. No way, it's more than that.
hey, TK. Guess what?
Yeah.
I'm doing a fraudulent mortgage, just so you know, buddy. Okay, I'm gonna let you know. I'm gonna tell
Whoa,
everybody. What
Daryl,
are you,
you sure
mental?
talk to your rabbi
What are you,
first, okay?
mental?
Don't make any big decisions here before.
Nobody's gonna tell the
Listen,
agent that they got
I
a
don't care.
fraudulent
I don't
mortgage in the
care.
works.
I don't care.
Nobody.
Well,
Okay.
we're also supposed to have. First of all, I put everybody onto my mortgage broker. We're also supposed to have a little bit of an awareness here, where all of a sudden, if the person doesn't seem like they check out, we should be reporting them to FinTrack. We have those responsibilities. I'm letting you know right now
Oh
that I
yeah, and
don't
then your
care
deal doesn't
what the
close.
number everyone wants to throw out there randomly in the chat or online. It's not that big of a number, but it
Okay,
will
so
impact. It will
so
impact a few markets, specifically Toronto and Vancouver, for sure. Those markets
right,
will have more of an impact than
right.
any other market in Canada. But I would say in the other markets in Canada, you would almost never see it. We talked to Mark from London, and he was like, "It doesn't exist here." So now all of
Right.
a
All of
sudden,
the oh yeah, the mortgage brokers are gonna say, hey, guess what? Like we're putting through all these
now
shitty
it's a
applications.
conspiracy. Now it's a
Now
big
it's a
conspiracy for mortgage
conspiracy.
fraud. Look, it
That's
doesn't
right. Well, of course it
exist.
is. What it has
It's
to be a conspiracy. You can't be out there in public telling
I'm
everybody what's going
I'm
on.
not saying it doesn't exist. I'm telling you, I've witnessed it. People are now coming to me saying, "Hey, I did
It's
it,
big.
and now I'm screwed. Can you help me?" And they're admitting it to me. And I wasn't
If
getting that before. But I'm just
if it
letting you know
wasn't
it's not as widespread.
if it wasn't as widespread, they'd put this in place. They'd do it right away because it's so easy and it's so
Yeah.
necessary and it's so smart. But they know the ramifications. So they're going to give us
Yes.
time to weed this shit out, to get
Yes.
paperwork in order, to get everything. Because imagine all these, what happens to the mortgage brokers if they go back? Okay, let's say they go back. What happens? It's not only going to be the person that took the loan that's going to be fucked, it's going to be the mortgage broker and the lender and everybody involved in this thing is going to get
Exactly.
fucked up, right?
Yeah, and the mortgage brokers who have licenses know that. Most of the time when these scams happen, it's actually employees of the bank. They're unlicensed mortgage brokers. They're people who just got a job, they were a teller, no, like they don't really care about their future at the bank. They're just like, "Hey, look how much money I can make cash pocketing all these deals." And if I have to, give up my job at the bank a few years from now because the bank's internal people, they know when these type of things happen. The banks know, right?
Yeah.
It's just because it happens too late. They've already give the loan. Because some of the other comments here is what people were talking about is who right now, based on their debt service ratio, would still qualify for the mortgage that they're paying. So, like having like
No one.
reverse amortization and stuff like that. That's a different story. That's a double digit number for sure. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about at the initial application stage. Did you qualify based on your total debt service ratio or not? And I think that number is a very small number. But yeah, over time, people lose jobs, things change, or they get a job. They're smart. It's not fraud. It's knowing the system, gaming the system. So you get a job, you don't lease that car, you pay off all your credit card debts, you get the mortgage, and then you go back to your cash job selling hot dogs. You lease that car that you want, and you build up your credit card debt again. All of a sudden it's unmanageable, but you got this other income money coming in, you're renting out your basement illegally, da da da, you're making your payments. Is that mortgage fraud?
Yes, technically. But I agree with you. Like there
Yeah,
should be other avenues. I mean, just for self-employed people. I mean, you
yeah,
have to be able to get mortgages other ways than being able to just show your income, right, from a T4, because
yeah.
that, I mean, that's how uh, uh, you know broke people make more money, but the real wealthy people, they don't have big T4s. I mean, that's just the truth. But and I don't mean to be a dick. but that's really
Yeah,
the
that's
truth.
true.
Okay, I'm here. Hey, Mogul's here, and I saw that Donnie M is here, and I saw Charlotte's here. You got Alistair Trent here. The whole family is here, guys. There's 150 people in the chat right now. Can you all just say hi and press like a like
Yeah,
button
guys,
and
chat in the
do
comments. We're looking at them, we're
something?
reading them, and we're trying to
Help
incorporate them
us.
into the conversation, guys. Yeah.
Yeah, just help us get a few more people into this room
So
and into the
one of the other
conversation.
changes, one of the other announcements that they just made was back in 2022, the federal government introduced a foreign vacant home tax, right? Because you know what happens, right? When things start to go wrong, Canadians are upset. They start to complain about the prices and all that kind of stuff. We blame the foreigners, Darryl. It's the damn foreigners' fault. God damn them. Too many foreigners. So then the federal government started to get involved and they said, oh, okay, well, if these foreigners are keeping their houses vacant, well, we're going to make sure that they get taxed on that because that should be Canadians' homes. Shouldn't be foreign nationals owning homes and just leaving them empty all the time, which does exist. Well, there was $2.5 billion worth of vacant home tax penalties and interest that they never collected.
Hmm.
How is it that $2.5 billion is not important for them to collect? And when they've got real estate to be able to leverage it on and to put liens on, how is $2.5 billion not important for them? Why is it that million became billion? The government's the word billion for that right now. They're way too comfortable with
Yeah,
it. It's way too comfortable for them to say
just
it's only 2.5 billion.
throwing
Guys,
billions around.
just don't worry about it. We'll just waive it. We'll collect it. $2.5 billion, Daryl. That's
Yeah,
a lot of money.
Mogul says Argentina is the way moving forward, and we spoke about that
Yeah, get
a
rid of
couple
all
of
the
weeks ago.
government. Yeah.
Just fucking. Did you see?
Well, that's
I forget
Elon.
the guy's
Elon's
name.
talking about that now.
Well, they've been talking about it for a while, and I mean, they literally just took a chalkboard or like a whiteboard, and they put up all the different department names, and the prime minister or president just started taking them down and throwing them in the garbage. Say, we don't need these, we don't need this department, we don't need this department. This is stupid. This is redundant. And basically, I mean, if 50% of this government is not redundant and a big friggin' waste of money, I don't know what is. I would be
Yeah.
surprised if it wasn't closer to 80%. But the reality is that, like, you got all these guys that want to cling their jobs, or want to cling to their jobs, and they're in power. So, I mean, is this a fair uh, fight? Like, is this a fair proposition? Is it gonna change, or are they gonna try and steer policy in a direction that benefits them, as they always have? I see.
Yeah.
It's funny because people are waking up to the corruption, and people are waking up to the way that the world works, but people also don't realize how ingrained this system is, how big this monster is that needs to come down, and how powerful it is. And I mean, the reality is, I mean, just like us, I mean, we're not doing anything. We're just sitting here online bitching about things. We shed light on things, but we're not doing anything. And nobody else around here is doing anything, right? We're all just sitting here complaining and hoping that somebody else does something. But we're leaving it in the hands of the people that made this mess. And then, if you're a conspiracy theorist, then you think that they've made this mess on purpose, right? And you can see how a lot of people have benefited from this being a mess on purpose, if you have those eyes, right? And so, uh, is it going to change? And why are we stupid enough to think that they won't just print us into oblivion again this time when things get crazy? Like, they're
Well,
already
they've got no
just throwing
choice.
money at.
They've got no choice. But we're going to see
Well,
what happens
and
now in
they
the
have no
States. So
choice.
we're going to see a new thing. Like Musk is talking about cutting back $2 trillion off the budget just in public employment right away. Right. I think I saw a chart where it said that our lowest public service worker count was somewhere around 99. Brian Mulroney, where it was like down to 200,000, and now it's up to like 350,000 or something like that. So we can cut out a huge amount of ours too. Like we can cut out probably 40% of our public service workers in order to be able to cut down. I don't know how much income that would be, but I'm pretty sure it'd be significant. It's amazing when they want to spend, they're like, it's only billions. Don't worry.
Right.
But
Yeah.
when it comes time to pay everybody else, that's when everyone else starts getting. They're talking about, a dollar here, a dollar there, 10,000 here, 20,000 there. Like, guys, we need to be able to figure out how to be able to get the deficit down. We need to be able to be running balanced budgets. We can't be coming in at the end of the year when they already had halfway through the year, when they're updating their budget, we already had projected deficits, and then we blow past it by $20 billion again, only several months later. Like, at the end of the day, like, these type of things, it's just like completely irresponsible money management, at all levels of government, which is why we will have a new government coming in next year. You know, and that type of
Yeah.
stuff is what this is what this conversation is about. This is, the dollar, the strength of the dollar, the stuff that you were just mentioning, right? How we're going to get everything back on track. It
But
only comes down when you
let's.
start managing the country.
I like Pierre Poilievre when I see him and I hear him talk. But I mean, my comparison is against Justin Trudeau, right? So, like, we can't forget that Pierre is a career politician. Okay, Pierre Poilievre was writing. Did you see the interview with Jordan Peterson? It's got like 50 million views already with Pierre Poilievre. Like, everybody wants change. Everybody is
Yeah,
interested in what's going on with the Prime Ministry in Canada. Everybody wants
yeah.
Pierre Poilievre in there because it's not Justin Trudeau, and because he does put on a pretty good show, and he does seem like if he was being honest and real, right, that it would be amazing for Canada. But this is a career politician who has got from high school writing essays about being the prime minister, right, to actually being uh, uh, likely the next prime minister. Is he really gonna just fucking shake up the system? Is he
If
the
he
guy that
does, we're
climbed?
all gonna hate him. We're all what needs to be done. We're all gonna hate, right?
Yeah,
Think
we
about it.
should
Think
hate it.
about
Yeah.
when you cut back that much of the budget, when you start cutting back spending the level that is required in order for us to be able to get back on track, we are all going to feel a lot of pain. Taxes are going to go up. We're going to feel, whether it be through infrastructure or through healthcare and different spending like that, we are going to feel a lot of pain, and we're all going to be saying, "Man, why we want to vote in a new guy?" It's our fault. I don't blame the politicians. I blame us. I don't blame the Leafs for not winning a cup since 1967. I blame the fans.
You
You know,
blame the fans. Well, that
I
sounds like
blame
a
the fans.
CK thing to say. So
It's the
the
truth.
fans, because we keep buying tickets,
No, because we keep putting
because we
too
keep
much
buying
pressure on
merch.
them, and what's important to us isn't, building the team up and starting from the bottom because they want to see that, that win and all that kind of stuff every single year. But let's not talk about the Leafs. It's the same thing in the country. We don't want to go through short-term pain. We don't want our housing prices to go down. Anything but that.
No,
Listen,
but hold on a sec.
you
We
can
are
you can fix
in
the government, but don't affect my retirement, okay? Don't try to mess around with my business.
we are in the most wealthy country when it comes to natural resources, like, on the planet. If we're not number one, we're number two. But we're like a third world country who's been just taken over by all these foreign interests who dictate where our natural resources go, who owns them. Like, we literally could be, and I've said it a billion times on this show, we should be Dubai. We should be one of the most powerful countries in the nation. We can turn off the taps just like OPEC and make a big difference. We're not sending natural gas anywhere. Okay. Like, we should be sending it wherever people want it. We have extra all over the place. We talked about it. Potash, like, we don't sell this stuff out on the open market. We don't sell our wheat out on the open market. We don't sell our oil out on the like gold. We don't sell all this stuff out, palladium, platinum. It's like we just give it to, like, we got a contract in place, right? We just give it to people. and then they sell it back to us. We're a bunch of dumb fucking idiots here, run by a bunch of fucking morons who are just dwindling our wealth away. We should all not have to pay any income tax ever. There should be no personal income tax, no corporate income tax. We should have the best healthcare in the world. We should have subway systems like that look like they're from Mars. Okay, we should have like the most modern of everything. And when things break, there should be like five guys able to fly them because there's just so much money to throw around. Right? There should
But
be
you know where,
so
Daryl?
much.
Do you know where else has a lot of minerals and resources, and that is
Where?
full of $1 trillion? The moon.
The moon.
The
Sure,
moon. Yeah, but
sure.
it's hard to
Uh,
get there, isn't it? So the
Well,
issue is not just, listen, it's not just the
we've
government's
never been
management of
there, TK.
resources. Is that we have
We've,
one of the most difficult environments to mine and refine all of our resources. And so yes, it exists, it's there. And yes, the plan hasn't been great, but
that's
it's a
bullshit.
huge chunk because we don't
Uh,
like the answer to, in order for us to be able to focus on our natural resources, and people from Alberta will be able to talk about this better than I can, but it costs a huge amount of significant investment from the federal government, which means that certain parts of Canada are going to get a lot more attention. And guess where all the politicians come from, right? The cities, right?
mhm.
So they don't want to give all the attention to the areas that really do need the attention in order for us to access those resources, because people in the city like me and you, Daryl, would complain and we would vote for someone else. Was that, listen, we want those resources, but come on, like, you got to give me a GO train that's got to be at least 5 minutes from my house here, otherwise I'm not going to be able to get to work on time. Those are the type of issues that we face. That's the problem, Daryl, is the investment in the right areas. Canada's just too big of a country to make everybody happy,
So,
unfortunately. And
but
everyone wants to live in the same spot.
hold on a second. We're like the third or fourth biggest exporter of oil. So it doesn't seem like it's that friggin' hard, okay? Like we're pumping out a ton of it, a ton of it, okay? But they pump out a ton of it under like the worst political policy environment on the planet. It's not like it's just like, yeah, everybody's on the same page. Let's go, let's do this efficiently. Let's make a bunch of money, create a bunch of wealth for the country. And then I see somebody else here say it's not only natural resources, it's like manufacturing and all these other industries. It's all of it, okay? If we can actually use our natural resources properly, if we can actually have an efficient government and we can actually run this thing like not like a bunch of freaking idiots,
The
this
potential's
country,
huge. I
the
know.
potential is beyond
I
huge.
I always I always thought about it like this because of the Great Lakes, because we have all this fresh water. I always thought about it when, even this was as a kid. I remember thinking about this because I was like, well, what's good having all that fresh water? Like, I could just go to the store and buy a bottle of water. What do I need all this fresh water for? But then you'd watch these movies of like these dystopian futures of like, pollution and all sorts of stuff, and I said, oh, when those times come, that's when Canada is going to be the best place to live. It's just not in our day. It's just not now. So I agree with everything you say. And one day Canada's
When?
resources
Why?
will be it's safe from hurricanes and tornadoes and earthquakes, and we got all this it's a great place to be. It's just the rest of the world, you can go to Dubai in the middle of the desert and order a drink from a spring in Finland, and you can have it to your counter in 5 minutes, and it's going to be at the perfect temperature. Who cares about fresh water in Canada? Nobody does. We have enough and dispersed throughout the
No.
rest of the country. It's the same thing with resources. The money and wealth is in the right places, so people don't care about accessing these hard to reach resources that Canada has enough for us to actually focus on them. That's why we're in this situation. So we'll get there,
That's
but it's not
that's
anytime soon.
propaganda, TK. This is propaganda. TK, we have big news.
Canadian real
Big
estate show,
news.
propaganda. What's going on?
Big news. D Trent is in the chat. D Trent has finally arrived. I guess he woke up and he is now in the chat. Hello, D Trent. Mogul and him are having a good time out there. Daryl, productivity and competition are a sin. Canada, sadly, the mayonnaise mania. What the hell is this guy talking about? Okay, we don't really care. D Trent likes the live stream. Hi, guys. Awesome. Well, we're glad that you like the live stream. Guys, this has been This has been better than the previous lives. Oh no, dumb money's here. Has he been here the whole time? That
Yep.
guy is definitely Steve Carish. Steve Carish is in the chat. Dumb
Steve's here.
money is Steve Carish. He's literally the only guy who thinks that there's a competition between us and the Tom Story Show, which I gotta be honest with you,
They're
TK. Like it,
friends of the show. I mean, everybody on YouTube is friends of the show, guys. This is
yeah.
and people.
Well,
Someone mentioned about Market Mania, Luke. Like these are all our friends. I don't understand where the controversy comes from.
well, Luke's coming on next week, so everybody be ready for
I
that.
wasn't going to
That's
ruin
going to
that
be a great show.
surprise, but Luke's
Oh,
been on many times. Yeah, you can
he's
look at our
been on many
videos. Been on
times,
for
friend of the
years.
show. But
Yeah,
the Tom Story Show, I got to tell you, like it. Although they're friends of the show, it deeply, deeply, deeply offends me, TK, when anybody compares us to that show because there's nothing to compare. Not better or worse. Like they're not even close to the same anything. The only thing that's similar is that they're on Sundays. Okay? Like we're just a bunch of real estate guys that are on Sundays. That's the only thing. And this dumb guy or Steve Carish
Steve.
is
It's Steve. Hey, Steve.
just trying to push a narrative that isn't there.
Guys, don't
Maybe
forget about the merch. Don't forget about the merch, guys. Okay, we got a merch store. It's in the link. Check it out. These sweaters are super comfortable. Look at the hat. Daryl's down in Mexico right now wearing that hat, selling hats
I'm
because people
selling
love that
hats in
hat.
Mexico.
They gotta
People
have
love
that
the
hat.
hats.
Yeah,
It's
it's the
it's
best
really
hat they ever
crazy
saw.
though. But we
Yeah,
really are like center stage in the world right now because everybody sees what a disaster we are. I mean, thank God we don't have this. Have you heard all this fucking gang graping going on in the UK right now? All these stories about gang graping. I
what's
can't even believe
graping?
that.
What's
Well,
oh
it's
gang?
a
Oh,
word we should use so that we don't get
I get
banned
it. I
from
get it.
YouTube. But it's like, I mean, we got problems,
It's
but there's some crazy shit going on. It's
we
very
got
hard to focus on real estate. But what about real estate, TK? I mean, from my perspective, right now, I'm having a pretty good time this week.
yeah
Or
yeah
next week, I got a big date coming up for Forest Hill, which,
good.
okay, so this is funny. So I got these guys online that are just shredding the shit out of me because they're like, "You went bankrupt in 2008. You're a dumb fuck." First of all, I didn't go bankrupt, but you're bankrupt and you're a piece of shit and you're everything that's
Yeah,
wrong with real estate in Canada. And you're so dumb. The same thing you did in 2008, you did it again, you dummy. And we're gonna watch you go down and burn. And I'm um, like I just don't think you're right. Okay, like
yeah.
I think I'm kind of smart, and I think I know what I'm doing, and I do. Like you hear me talking, right? You hear me saying like I think it's gonna get bad, and I think this is gonna happen, and I think I'm pretty realistic with where I think things are at, right? And it's just funny how people out there, like these guys are telling me, oh my God, in Forest Hill, you're going to be fucked with all the neighbors and all that shit. And like people talk like they know, TK. Why do
And then when it's
people
all said and
always,
done, they say what, Daryl?
they don't
Man, I
say
should have got in on
anything?
that deal. No, man, I
Right,
should
right,
have bought a unit. Man, I should
right.
have invested that money in that project. You know this. You've been here before. What deal did you ever do where someone told you the whole time, "Wow, Daryl, this looks like it's got no risk. It looks like it's going to 100% go in your favor and that you're going to win." I'm probably the only person who ever tells you those things. Everybody else is always like, "Oh, Daryl, are you sure you need to borrow that much
No,
money
but
in order to be able to make this work?" You know?
listen, there's always the pessimists for sure, but
Yeah.
generally the environment is not like it is now. So, of
Yeah.
course, me coming from that background and having that experience, that is like at the top of my list always when I'm trying to make decisions, right? Obviously, I'm trying to avoid that situation again, like the bloody plague, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
just these like armchair couch riding like guys who look at charts
Analysts.
and sit on Twitter analyzing stuff all day, who have no money and don't take a risk for nothing and do nothing productive, and they can't even put their fucking name on Twitter, for God's sakes, right? Or on YouTube. Like, it's all anonymous bullshit. Somehow they all think that they know, and it's like, why don't you just do it? Because they I don't know, they piss me off, TK. They really piss me off.
Well, they're
And
attacking
maybe
you, right? So you gotta always, defend yourself in those type of situations. But you put yourself out there bravely. You put yourself out there. I mean,
like a
I'm
moron.
fortunate enough to be in my situation too, because at the end of the day, my business doesn't revolve around how many YouTube likes or comments we get or anything like that. So I just get to speak freely and do my
Thank
thing.
God.
And you're in the same boat, which is great. People can go to the merch link in the description below. We've got a link for the merch, so they can go check that out. Um, yeah, I mean, 2025, Darryl. Let's spend the last 5 minutes here talking about 2025. What's going to
Well,
happen in
here, hold on.
2025?
We got Sean here who says, I make 85K a year and I feel very poor. And Sean, that's because 85 grand a year is fuck all, man. That's fuck all. And this is okay. Let's talk about 2025. What are you going to do if you make 85 grand a year in 2025? Because it's not going to go further, right? It's not going to go any further, and you're not going to get a raise this year because chances are your business is not doing good, the one you're working in, right? So,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
like, what are people going to do next year if they were just scraping by this year? What's going to happen in 2025 is people are going to go even look at the streets, TK. People are going to go even crazier. People are going to ramp up the fraud like crazy to get into the market before these new rules take place, right? I think, unless I'm crazy, but these are the kind of things that happen. If you know that they're going to start cracking down and checking on your income and all those kind of things, aren't you going to try and get ahead of it?
Yeah. I mean, so here's somebody talking about quitting his 130K job a year a 30K a year job and work cash. I mean, that's what it is. It's you're going to try to find ways in order to be able to get by. And making
Correct.
85K a year, I don't think that that's anything to sneeze at. I think that that's well above the average. I think that there's lots of people out there who are going to school right now who are going to end up making 85K a year and be very happy. It's just you have to look at lifestyle and where that 85K is actually going to leave you at the end of the day. And I think that that's going to be something in 2025 that people are going to get a reality check on is lifestyle adjustments, because there's a lot of people who've been just I've witnessed a few people in my own circles, myself included, just over the last 4 years, where our brains have been changed into thinking that we deserve a certain lifestyle, when 4 years ago I would have said, no, I'm good, I'm happy, I don't need to be doing X, Y, and Z. I'm good with what I have. And I think that that's going to be something that people are really going to have to tone down on in 2025 is, what do you really need in your life to be happy? Because I can tell you right now, you don't need $250,000 a year income in order to be happy. I don't care what lifestyle you think you need. There's lots of people out there who are living under $100,000 a year, modest lives, who are very happy in Toronto, in Vancouver. You got to find like the budget. We're all blaming the government. We're all saying, hey, how come the government won't balance the budget? Well, have you looked at your own house, and have you balanced your own budget first, right? To figure out
Right.
what needs to be changed in order to be able to survive next year. And so 2025, I think, is the year of the wake up call. That's what I'm going to say.
The year of the wake up call where
A
people are
wake up call
cutting
for a
their
lot of people.
expenses
A lot of
even
people.
more.
Yeah. I'm seeing it with my clients too often right now. Just too many people are just like totally living off the equity of their homes. They're borrowing, borrowing, borrowing. They don't care about interest. They just keep borrowing. They think it's just like this infinite resource where their value of their home is going to go up faster than the debt that they build. And so they're always going to stay ahead. And that just mentality is stupid, and it needs to change.
Well, I mean, if you look at a lot of people, I mean, I don't know how many people actually have a budget where they've laid it out on maybe a spreadsheet or even written it down on a piece of paper and they even know what the hell they're doing. But assuming that people have budgets, like, there, I know in the past when I had to cut back, it was very hard to find things that I could actually cut back on, right? And maybe that's just because I'm a spoiled little bitch or something like that. But I mean, after you cut back like the cleaning lady, which is a fucking nightmare to get rid of that line item because then somebody else has to do that shit, right? Or maybe you cut back on your cars, but like cutting back on your cars can cost more than the amount of money that you're going to save, right? So now what? Now you're selling your house or what are you doing? You're not eating out anymore, but if you were eating out before and stopped eating out to save some money, now your grocery bills are like equal to the two before, right? Like when you used to go out and buy groceries. And then next year, groceries will probably go up even more because inflation doesn't seem to be going down. So it's like, what do people cut? What can you cut? You can't cut gas. What you cut like doing stuff, entertainment, and then everybody gets all fucking crazy and bitchy and angry because they're not having any fun. They're just sitting
Yeah.
there in the house, right? They're just sitting in the house crying. So like, so it's easy to say, like, be
I know,
responsible and
but
cut.
like I said, I've said this many times, so I'll go into it again if people are confused about it. Okay, but when people used to come to Canada for the last 100 years, they found ways in order to be able to live within their means. Whether you got multiple people living in the house, whether you're renting out rooms in your house, you're renting out your basement, whether you're living in an apartment until you can afford to be able to buy a property with a big enough down payment. Like there is lots of sacrifices. So I think the living standard has changed a lot. I think people right now are like, I need to have 2.5 bathrooms and I need to have whatever it is that they feel they need depending on the area that they're living in. I think that that's something that needs to change. And no one
It's
likes
the
that. Like I
house,
said, the same thing I just said about the government, no one's going to like what it costs us as far as our investment from the federal government in order to be able to balance the budget. We're not going to like it, but it's necessary. And it's easy for us to say, oh, well, the government just needs to cut the budget. Well, I'm saying it personally, myself included. I'm not talking to anybody else. If I want to be able to live within my means, I need to adjust my standard of living. And I need to be able to make sacrifices in my own personal life in order for me to be able to find it is a more expensive environment. That will not change by me complaining about it online. I make
right?
a certain amount of income. That can only go to a certain point depending on the amount of work that I'm willing to put in. So, in order for me to have this certain amount of income and this cost of living, in order to be balanced in a way that I feel comfortable enough to be able to live within my means to save and to retire and all that kind of stuff, something needs to change. If I can't change the
Yeah,
cost of goods, then I need to find balances in my own budget in order for me to be able to survive. And I don't like it, and I'm unhappy about it. But I
right,
understand that that's the reality because I'm taking responsibility. When other people will blame others going forward because it's just easier for them to do. That's the way
right.
life goes.
So, but if the answer for
Leaving
most
Canada is
people,
one of the options. Yes,
well,
leaving
that's one
Toronto is one of
option,
the options. Leaving
one of
big
the
cities is one of
options.
the options. 100%.
Yeah. But if the main option for most people, because they either have already cut everywhere where they can, or they just can't find anywhere else to cut, or they're not willing to cut some lifestyle stuff, like the real only thing to change is where you live, right? And so if that's the solution for most people, and houses aren't really turning, that's gonna make the problem even worse because people won't be able to do, even if they're willing to now, they won't be able to do what they need to do in order to move to a smaller or
Go
further.
go and look up what life is like in Hong Kong, please. Please go and watch a video on how people live in Hong Kong and then tell me that you're toughing it. Tell me that you're making sacrifices in order to make it when you watch a video of how people live in Hong Kong.
Right. Well, and
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying though. So let's say the answer is to not live in Hong Kong, to move from Hong Kong. But everybody else, it's the same answer. It's the only way to get the fucking expenses down or to be able to afford life. Now everybody needs to sell on top of all the people that already needed to sell. Now you got this whole goddamn problem of extra inventory on the market and prices coming down, and now people can't get the amount they need to be able to move anywhere, and then it's like it's just the same, more of the same shit. I think i think it's
Well,
it's it's just more of the same shit. So
can you
I mean, We've been talking
You,
about the same thing for 4 years. It's like move further is the answer, right? Move
yeah.
further. Just keep going. Just keep going.
Listen, people don't like the answer. People don't like the solution. But at the end of the day, you got to find it for yourself. This is your own life. I'm not walking around looking for the government to save me. I'm not waiting for a tax cut in order to be able to make money. I'm not looking for some other change that's going to put me in a better position. I'm looking at the system. I'm looking at the rules of the game, and I'm finding my way to succeed. And that if I don't blame anybody else but myself. That's the reality. So again,
Well,
nobody likes to
it's
hear that.
no, and it's good to take accountability, but the reality is that even if you are someone that is taking accountability or has always taken accountability, in the last 4 years, like there have been forces at play that have just been so unnatural and so crazy that even with like smart planning, you got sideswiped, right? Or all of a sudden, it's like you're like, haven't expenses gone up like 40% in the last few years? Like when you look at your
So
budget, right? If you look at your budget from now, when I look at my budget from now and 4 years ago, it's fucking insane. Like it
I
is
know. Well,
fucking
who's
insane.
okay? But
Whose fault
again,
is that? I blame my
whose
wife, TK.
responsibility
I
is
blame
it
my
in
wife.
order to make those changes? I mean, that's just how it goes. There's going to be moments where you say, "Hey, do I really need to go do this and that?" And you're going to say, "Well, we deserve it, or we I make enough money to do it." And yeah, you can pay for it, but you can't complain later on that your budget's gone up 3 times.
TK,
Yeah.
I, like everybody else, I'm not unique. I like stuff. I like buying stuff. I like doing stuff. I like
Yep.
having stuff. And not only stuff, like good stuff, stuff that, people want to have. And there is another answer to the problem. Unfortunately, it's not easy. It's not as easy as just putting your house up for sale and moving. You can work harder and make more money. And if you can't work harder, you might be able to work smarter and make more money. But like
Yeah.
we said before, TK, that may not, you could make more money and be a creative son of a bitch and figure out a way to make a lot more money, but it may not count to the bank who's giving you the loan because it's
Yeah.
not on the goddamn T4, which is like they got to figure out a couple of other things because the reality, TK, I know we're running long, you have to go,
No, I'm
but the
okay. I'm okay.
reality, TK, is that the economy is changing and more people are making money doing what we're doing right now than ever before. Okay, and so like, what you gonna put TikTok income on your application or YouTube income on your application? Are they gonna count that? Do you
If
get
you
to
got if you
see
got 2 years of it, they will.
if you got 2 years of it? So what if you just
Yeah.
had one great year? I guess you got to rent a place. You
You
can't buy a
well,
house.
they'd average it. If you've been doing it for 2 years and one year was good and one year was bad, they'd average it.
But what if you were doing it for five? What if you're like us and you've been doing it for almost 5 years and most
Making
of
no
the
money.
years have been shit and you
So they're
made
going to
no
use
money?
$0 of that income to qualify for a mortgage now.
Why do we? Oh, where'd you go, TK? Did we lose TK? I feel like we lost TK. Maybe,
Here, can you hear me?
hey. Oh, there you are. I thought you cut your internet
No,
expense
I didn't do. I
and
didn't do anything.
decided to leave us.
I can't see myself, but you can hear me,
I
right?
can't. I can't see you. Oh, there you are. You're
There we
back.
go. All right.
Well, you did something to fix it, but
Well, I
I don't know
pressed the
what I
button.
was talking about. But oh, TK hired Bill Ferguson as his tech guy. Remember Bill Ferguson? We got to try and get him
He
back
didn't.
on the show.
He doesn't like us anymore. Last comment, he was really like negative. So we should try to get him back on.
We should try. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I just don't know if he's interesting. See, this is the problem, and this is why I don't know if people understand why we kind of stopped having guests, and not that they were all not interesting, but TK, we like to have fun. And I mean, look at this. I'm on fucking vacation. It's early in the morning here. I have to come find, like, you have no idea where I'm sitting right now and how I found this place where I could have
Show
quiet to
us.
do this with
Show
you.
us.
Well, I mean, what am I going to
Show
show you?
us.
It's like I'm
I don't
in
know.
this weird little cove here.
Yeah. Oh
Like,
wow, that's
wow.
nice. That's
Yeah,
nice.
it's really, look at that place. See
Yeah,
that?
that's
See
nice.
that?
Yeah.
All the way at the top there?
Yeah,
That's
that's you.
mine. That's mine, baby. I got the
All right.
presidential suite. It's
You
fucking
better.
crazy, this
You
place
better.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
don't
we
worry
got a good
about
spot.
cutting back on your expenses.
This is a cutback. But
This is a
TK,
cutback. Yeah.
the point is like we're doing this for fun, right? We're not making any money doing this thing.
Yeah.
And uh like there's people that are doing a good job at this and making a ton of money, and it's a real business. And like the government has to prepare for that because a lot more incomes will be from Uber drivers and from gig workers and from people that are working in other countries online. And like
Yeah.
you got to be able to use that income. You got to be able to like, you know, take odd jobs here and there and be able to count that stuff. And if for it to be validated somehow, or I mean, like at the end of the day, it's if you can afford the thing, like who the fuck gives a shit, right? Like who the fuck gives a shit? But then everybody argues that that's where the fraud comes in, and then that pushes up prices, and then Jimmy can't live around the corner from his mother if he even fucking wants to, right? But like I don't even know why I don't even want to live where I grew up. I want to move. I got to get out of this goddamn country, right? I want to
Yeah.
look at this ocean every bloody morning, okay? I
Yeah.
want to have a coffee in front of the ocean. I
Well,
don't want to live in.
obviously, Daryl, at the age that you're at now, you haven't wanted it bad enough. Sorry to tell you.
No, it's
Because
not
if you
true.
did, there's
No,
people who
because
are living there right now who live the same life as you, who
I
wanted it
know,
more
but
than you do.
first it's like you got parents and family. Then all of a sudden you got kids and they got
Yeah.
friends and they don't want to leave. And then it's like then the kids are older and now your parents are all fucking fucked up and
Those
sick
other
and
people
going
found a way.
mental.
Those other people
Those,
found a way.
those
How many
other
people are like, my
people
uncle lives
found
in
a way.
Mexico? I don't know. My uncle, like, I've met people. My uncle lives
Yeah,
in Thailand. My uncle lives in the
yeah, my,
Philippines. I don't see
yeah,
him
my
very often,
divorced
but he's there.
uncle.
I
Yeah,
got
my
an uncle who lives in
divorced.
Edmonton who left the whole city, who left the whole family, moved to
Yeah.
Edmonton. I met him like 5 times in my life.
Hey, James Anderson is here. Hey, buddy. Yeah,
He
listen,
did what he
my
wanted.
divorced, selfish piece of shit uncle just moved to Vietnam and he's happy as hell. Or my single buddy who's
Yeah,
got no ties to anything just moved to Mexico, right? Or
yeah.
like
So
Vitali, who's
don't complain. Don't complain. Exactly. Vitali's in Mexico too. So don't complain. You haven't been able to. It's just you didn't want it bad enough, right? So
no, you just didn't listen to everything I just said. I want it bad enough, but I'm not going to divorce everybody in my family who doesn't agree. See, the problem is, TK, is that I didn't make the decision before when I was the single selfish Uncle
you didn't
Daryl.
want it bad enough then.
Then I didn't want it bad enough. But then,
Yeah,
TK, it was a
yeah,
beautiful country. It was an amazing place. TK, you know me. 5 years ago, I was like, Toronto is the best city in the world. I want to build it and make it beautiful and be a big part of this place. And it's the best country. And I used to love going downtown. And my office was at Parliament and Queen, and I would walk to Bay Street, and I would walk over to the Roncesvalles and I would just walk everywhere because I just loved it. And I walk around in love with my city and I'm in love with my country and proud when I would go on vacation and say, I'm Canadian, right? Proud to tell everybody, yeah, I'm from Canada. And now it's like, TK, I would move to the States. And I'm not saying I want to move to the States. Now it is something I would even consider, whereas before I would never even think about it. It's a fucking cesspool shithole. But I feel like it's better than living in Canada now. And that doesn't mean I'm gonna move there. I don't want to move there. I want to move to a goddamn beautiful island. But it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen, TK, because I have roots here. And I've
yeah.
made bigger roots here. And now I got all these deals here. So even if I wanted to, I got
You don't want it
responsibilities
bad
to
enough. You don't want it
investors.
bad enough. Yeah.
I
So we
don't
we did
want
invite
to.
John Flynn, David Clorley. If you want to try to convince John Flynn to come on the show, please
Yeah,
help us. We've invited him
not,
several times.
not only did we invite him, but like
Yep.
somebody challenged him on Twitter last week. He accepted and
Yep.
then he changed it on everybody. First he said, okay, yeah, if you are willing to apologize. No, first he said, I'm willing to do it.
Yeah.
if you admit you're wrong, and the guy admits he's wrong, so that John will come on the show because everybody wants
Yeah.
to see John on the show.
We'll
John's
take.
awesome, like Coconut
We're
says. But
not.
then,
We're not here to put anybody down or say anybody's right or wrong. There's lots of things that we say that are wrong. Like, who are we to say?
yeah,
One
yeah, TK
person's.
says things that are wrong all the time. TK's
I'm
always
always
wrong.
wrong. 50% of the time, I'm wrong.
That's
You know.
right. No, but then John decides after he accepts that for you know what, I'd like a public apology or something before I go on. So
Yeah.
John's been trying hard not to come on the show for years. So I wouldn't expect to see him
I
anytime
invited him
soon.
a long time ago, guys, several times. So it's all
I
good.
invite him all the time. He knows he has an open invitation. Hopefully we have him in
Yeah.
the new year.
We used
If
to
you
try to
guys
get
want to put
Condo
some
Wong
pressure.
all the time. Whatever happened to that guy? Is he still around?
Well, Kondo Wong, I believe, is very scripted. He is around, but I mean, he's Kondo Wong. I mean, what's he
Yeah.
pushing right now? He's like the
Yeah.
ultimate. Okay, like for the people that think I am the worst possible kind of product for Canadian real estate, like let's talk about an
It might be
Asian guy who
pre-con agents. It might be
barely
pre-con
speaks
agents.
any. Yeah, but Asian guys who barely speak any English that just sell stuff to foreign investors that never even come here and leave units open, that guy might be a little bit worse than me, TK, who literally I've never built an investor based product, right? Never sold
Yeah.
anything to investors. And everything I'm doing now is end user based, like literally what the market is saying they want and we need, I'm building. The only problem is that it's a little expensive for the average person, TK. And now, well, now the average person is below average, I think, right? Because like 80, like we were saying, 85 grand is far below average. When I was growing up, if I could make 85, when I had one of my first jobs, when I was working in the lumber yard, I was making like 85 grand. And for me to be able to do that, first of all, I had to be family, okay? Because the
Yeah.
guys that were working there for years, they didn't make anywhere close to that kind of money. But when I was like in my early 20s making 85 grand, I was a baller, bro. Okay. I had money coming out of everywhere. Okay. I could afford anything. And now 85 grand, you can barely rent a one bedroom in the bloody Brampton.
Yeah.
Bloody
You'd be
Brampton. But TK,
you'd be in good shape. And yeah, it's not the same today, obviously, right? We know that. But you also have an opportunity to be able to go out there and look at other job opportunities. You have an opportunity to be able to look at different markets and all that kind of stuff. So I don't want to get into it. I don't want people to feel like their situation is dire. But when I deal with people when they're selling their real estate because of all the bad decisions that they've made over the years. So I just get to see the end of the rope so often that it's just so clear to me that people make bad decisions um, over the course of their
regular.
lifetime, which put them in a position to not succeed. And so for me, I'm a little bit more jaded in that sense because I see the aftermath. Maybe other people have had, they're like there's been things out of their control that have happened to them and that's why they're not it. And I feel bad and I hope you can get things back on track and that you can get your life to where you need it to be. But the people that I deal with, 9 out of 10 are there because they put themselves there. And I hope that I learn from that, obviously, and I hope that other people do too. I mean, what can I do? But
Well,
anyways,
and
Daryl,
listen,
let's
hold on.
let's try
Let me just
to
say,
wrap this
let
up
me
here.
just say one thing to that. Yeah, let me just say one thing to that.
Yeah.
And yes, people do make bad decisions and they do put themselves in positions, but I think a big part of the issue is that there are plenty of complicit parties, right? It's not just the person making a bad decision. It's the person, their spouse, maybe their parents are helping them make the bad decision. The mortgage agent is probably not
Society,
being fully
society
helpful,
doesn't help. Society
right?
pressure, yeah, that's
Like
big. Yeah,
all this stuff, but like again, you got a mortgage agent who's really trying to get a deal done, you got a realtor trying to get a deal done, you got an appraiser
we'll
trying
get
to
we'll
get
get
like
Mark Mitchell back for sure. He's a friend of the show. We'll get Mark back.
there's a lot of opportunity along the way for people to save people from themselves, and that's what I thought those things are in place for. It's like to save us from ourselves because it's like, hey, Daryl, you can't afford this, we can't allow it to happen, I can't sign off on it. That changes things, right? if you need some guy to say, yes, this guy actually can afford it, here's all the proper documentation signed off, and if I'm wrong, I go to jail, right? That changes everything. But TK, it's late. I'm
Yep.
going whale watching.
It's
You're ready
okay.
to rock
Enjoy
and
it.
roll.
Enjoy it, guys. We love you guys. We really, honestly, the comments, the views, everything else, it pushes us to keep putting content out there. Whether you like what we have to say or not, come and check us out every week. 2025 is going to be another year of us putting out weekly content. We'll try to do some other cool things along the way that we come up with in our weekly brainstorming sessions. If you guys have ideas on guests or formats or anything else, shoot it out there. I mean, most of the time we probably won't do it, but like we definitely will read the comment and consider it. And so by all means, we really appreciate you guys, love you guys, and hope to see you all next week.
Adios, everybody.
Adios.